1.3 Serving up symbols. This section is for 1.3, and this is an example of how your notes should look. The video title for this video is How Do You Evaluate an Expression? And the next video title that I had planned, I'm actually going to cancel, and I'll talk about that in class tomorrow. But just know that you only have one video for this section of notes. How do you evaluate an expression? We'll answer this question by the end of class, or by the end of the video, excuse me. A variable is a letter or symbol used to represent a value that can change. A constant is a value that does not change. A numerical expression contains only constants and/or operations. And an algebraic expression contains variables, constants, and/or operations. You need to know these vocabulary words because we're going to be using them throughout the examples that we're going to do. So let me give you a little mini example of each of the vocabulary terms. A variable could be X, Y, pretty much any letter in the alphabet, or you can use a symbol. Okay, sometimes we'll use this symbol for theta to represent angles. Constant is a value that does not change, so that's a number. It could be a negative number like -2, or it could be a positive number like +5, or we just write 5. A numerical expression contains only constants and/or operations, so 4 plus 5, that's a numerical expression. There's no variables represented. Or 2 minus 3, that is also a numerical expression. And an algebraic expression contains variables, constants, and/or operations. So x could be a algebraic expression, 2x, x plus 2. These are all algebraic expressions. Here's a little help with writing math, and some students forget what this means. All these expressions all mean 2 times y. And here's multiple representations, and this is going to help us when we evaluate expressions. Sometimes you don't have anything written. And when you just have a constant and a variable, it represents multiplication. And here you can have a dot. Even if there's a little bit of space, it still means multiplication. Parentheses around one variable or around both the constant and variable or just the constant, that all means multiplication and to multiply 2 times y. Now let's begin some examples, and I got some pretty good ones here for us to practice. Now if we were just to simplify this expression, we would probably distribute first, but we don't have to worry about distributing because we're going to plug in values. We are going to evaluate the inside of the parentheses first, and then we're going to go ahead and go with the rest on the outside. So let's go ahead and remember that we have to use our order of operations. Please excuse my dear aunt. We call it Shaquita in our class. And so what we're going to do is substitute in x for 5, r for 6, and then we're going to evaluate the expression. So x is going to go right here, and that will be 5, and then r is 6, and that's going to go right here. So let's begin. We have -9 multiplied by 4, multiplied by 5, minus 2 multiplied by 6. And that's all in parentheses, and we're going to add 3. So order of operation tells us to do everything inside the parentheses. So we're going to go and do that first. We have -9. 4 times 5 is 20. I had to multiply that before I could subtract. And then 2 minus 6 is 12. Plus 3. Once again, we still have more to do inside. So we're going to take -9. And then 20 minus 12 is 8. We're going to add 3. And before we add, we must multiply. So -9 times 8 is -72. And then we're going to add 3 to that. And so our answer is going to be -69. Remember, they're different signs, so we subtract to keep the sign of the bigger number. So once this expression is evaluated for these two values, 5 and 6 for x and r, we will get -69. Here's an example where we have to worry about division. And so we'll have to handle that first before we begin anything else. R was going to be negative, it's going to be +2, and D will be 7. So let's begin. We have 4 minus 8 divided by 2 plus 6 multiplied by 7. So by order of operations, we must divide and multiply first before we can add or subtract. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and then 6 times 7 is 42. 4 minus 4 is 0, and so my answer is just going to be 42. Wow, that only took us 35 seconds to complete. Remember, if I went too fast, you want to pause and replay, and also you want to pause the video so you can write down all the information. Okay, here's our last example. We're going to evaluate the following expression for a given variable. So here's our expression, and we're going to evaluate it for C. Oops. And put on the pen. There we go. C for 3 and A for 7. And so now we are going to, and you know, let's make it a little bit more interesting. I'm going to make the 3 negative. So C is not positive 3. C is going to equal negative 3. We need to plug in a negative to practice. We have 10 times negative 3 plus 7 divided by 2. 10 times negative 3 is negative 30. And we're going to add 7 to that. Then divide by 2. Negative 30 plus 7 is negative 23. And we're going to divide that by 2. And since there's no number that goes in the top and bottom evenly, this is our final answer. And you can also, this is an improper fraction, you can make it a mixed number and it will still be correct. You can even convert it to a decimal and it will still be correct.